On that day, I was actually working on a software program all night long and didn't get any sleep. And about to go to bed, and all of a sudden I saw my camera sitting there, and it reminded me that the Columbia was coming in. Since I'd recorded these before, I knew exactly the re-entry points. So when I went outside, I knew exactly where to look in the sky, and I just sat there and waited for it.
All right, so Columbia crosses the coast of California, normal re-entry. There are certain measurements, certain things were happening on board, certain temperatures, certain indications that weren't quite normal.
First thing I noticed in the trail, I was seeing almost like glitter. As I was following it, I could see little puffs of smoke pop up, like little explosions. I started thinking, nah, this can't be. And I zoomed in at the end, and I could see huge chunks glowing really bright, and they weren't one piece anymore.
I, for one, and I'm sure I can speak for thousands, I broke down and started crying. You're watching your friends dying.
Even though I didn't know any of the astronauts, I knew 7 lives were lost. It hurt. On that particular morning, I was having coffee. Some friends and I would just have a general discussion, and we heard this long sonic boom.
We started immediately getting calls of falling objects and falling material that could possibly be from the space shuttle. We realized, of course, our worst fears were true, that the shuttle had actually exploded over Texas.
People were just living their lives. And unbeknownst to them, this 100-ton spaceship is flying over their head at supersonic speeds and has an accident. And the cause of that accident, thousands of parts come raining down over their communities.
We've got an object.
That's an outside shield.
Did you get on the inside?
That sure is it.
Getting Columbia home, every piece of Columbia was critical. We realized very quickly that this is going to be a very large effort. It actually turned out to be the largest ground search in American history. We built a grid based on the center line of the vehicle. So Columbia's ground track coming home, and then we went a distance 5 miles on each side of that. Once we had the area, now our job was to go search every foot of those 2.5 million acres to find Columbia to bring her home.
My name's Campbell Cox, and I'm retired, but I'm still raising cattle. We saw over 100 pieces. I saw a lot of those little styrofoam black and white chunks. The calves were beginning to nibble on them. Everybody was saying, don't let anybody touch them. But a calf is very inquisitive. And a calf will nibble on anything. So I had a bunch of black tubs, and I ran and got those tubs and started covering up the pieces.
So what do you think the place was at? Was it right here? This fence?
I think it was at this tree here. It was on this fence. I know it was on this fence.
Yeah. It was probably, Jane, about 5, 6 foot? No, about 5 foot.
The regular hatch in the shuttle is the doorway, and it's big enough that you can step through it. So it had to be at least 4.5, 5 foot tall, or otherwise you wouldn't be able to get through it.
So what you guys found was the hatchway or the hatch itself?
The hatchway, the outside edge of the hatch.
It's much like going to the scene of an accident of someone that you loved. So you find yourself in fields, you find yourself and helicopters. You find yourself in swamps, searching for a lost friend.
I had to go and look and see if I could help. I don't know why I felt compelled to do that, but I did. Come on, I'll show you. Come on. I started looking, and then indeed I did find a big piece of tile in my yard. It was black, and it had the white on it where it had disintegrated a little bit. I knew what it was.
The folks that lived in these areas were absolutely amazing, and it's almost impossible to characterize in words what they did. They followed their hearts, they followed their intuition, they followed their conscience, and that led them to do some heroic things. To find these pieces, to help search for the pieces, to guard the pieces.
We were finding pieces and bits the size of a dime, all the way to what it would take a 16-foot trailer and truck to move. There was a large piece of material that had fallen in the commercial bank lot. I can show you exactly where it is. This is the exact location of where the world got a view of the piece of the material. There were sound trucks everywhere, and news media just covered this entire town. But no one was speaking above a whisper.
Try to make your egg.
They had made some of this bank parking lot into a makeshift shrine where there were flowers and balloons. Everyone had an air of reverence to them.
We roughly got back between 38 to 39% of the space shuttle after the recovery was complete.
What were you expecting?
Initially, roughly 5%. The reconstruction of Columbia happened in a hangar, and we put a grid on the floor, and then the parts of Columbia that were coming from Texas were reconstructed in this hangar. What we determined the accident to be is on the left-hand side of Columbia, the left wing, the piece of foam came off the external tank, which would have been sitting below it, came and impacted the wing right here, created about an 8-inch hole into the leading edge of the wing. So as you re-enter, now you have an 8-inch or so diameter hole in the wing. It allowed a perfect path for that hot gas to come inside and damage the vehicle.
This is my shrine right here. It used to represent that tangible piece of wreckage that I didn't want to let go of. I mean, I cried when they came and got it. Now, what it represents to me more than anything is a symbol of the unity of our community pulling together to help solve the mystery of the disaster.
Is there a piece that hasn't been found that you really wish was found?
Yes. If there was a piece I would want back over all others, is the very last piece of Columbia. Because I know there's more of Columbia out there,